Zionic. Guess what I ordered, Zionic? I'll give you 2 guesses. I think you're going to get it, though, now that you know I'm doing the sloop. Keith, good morning, brother. What are you up to? I'm limited for time today, so I'll try to make this as entertaining as possible. Hurt my back a little bit earlier in the week. Kept that TENS unit on there for about an hour last night. And I was able to actually train back today. Get a good workout out of it. I'm gonna walk a little bit faster than normal, try to get this done. But I got a bunch of stuff going on. I got a sick doggy. I gotta get a poop sample from my dog. My other dog's sick now. I gotta do a Zoom later on. I gotta go and handle some reptiles. Got a whole bunch of stuff going on today. Busy little day, so we're gonna get this going today. I'm a little late. I stayed in the gym doing some extra core and stretch work, try to get my back to loosen right up again. Have you guys ever tried these Propel waters? They're surprisingly tasty, actually, if you just want a little bit of taste. What's the best thing to do for a treadmill to the body for the body to lose fat? So listen, I get this question all the time. And there's 2 completely different schools of thought for it. Number 1 is low intensity, steady state cardio like I do, especially when you're fasted. So your body can oxidize the fat, getting a good fat burning zone. You nailed it, Zionic. I knew you'd get it on the first one. I knew you'd get it. So now the other school of thought, Big Sexy, is high intensity interval training, which is completely different. You're ramping your heart rate up really fast, then letting it come down. Ramping it up really fast and letting it come down. You get a lot more accomplished in a fast amount of time that way. It's a much different intensity. Nathan, what is up, my bro? How's your training going, Nathan? What's going on? I had a little stomach situation going on, guys. I'll tell you, I don't know if I caught a bug or something, but the only thing that I was doing different in the last 7-8 days or so was I put creatine back in. Just 5 grams a day. It's been years since I've used it. I happen to have some access to some free creatine. And man, I don't know. I was pooping like crazy. And I know that this might seem like too much information, you guys, but you know, I like to share everything that's going on. So I decided to stop the creatine. And I'll tell you, so far today, my poops are normal. So I don't know, maybe I gotta rethink this creatine positioning, or maybe I just have to get used to taking it again. So Big Sexy, if you're in for the long haul, I love to do fasted cardio. If you have a piece of cardio at your house, I love treadmill, if you have a bike, whatever, and you can just roll up out of bed, hop on there, and walk at a steady state where you're keeping your heart rate around, let's say on the high side, 120 beats per minute. 120 beats per minute, that's a low intensity, steady state, right? So like right now, my heart rate is 104, which is pretty low. And honestly, it's probably only 104 because I had Dust Axe this morning at 6 a.m. I wouldn't say it's because I'm really pushing myself that hard. I'm actually only walking 2.8 miles per hour, which is pretty slow. I got to speed it up a little bit. Now, when I was really pushing my cardio, I would either try to increase my speed or add some incline. That's how you ramp up the intensity there. But if you're really trying, guys, if you're trying to just pull weight off at the fastest rate possible, getting into that interval training, you will burn calories hard in that interval training. I'm glad that you're feeling good and feeling focused, Ionic. We're all in this together, you know? We gotta support each other in this fitness world. You know, for so long we were outcasts, but now this has become so much more a normal part of society. The fitness junkies. So let's see, Nathan said he was out for 4 days on account of being burnt out. Hey, that happens. Resumed on Tuesday, absolutely crushed it. I hit legs hard as fuck yesterday. Boy, my cheeks are sore. Good man, I like to see that. You know, I'll tell you, one of the hardest things for me to do when I was younger was take time off, but sometimes when you do that, man, it really brings you back. And I'm not talking a couple days off. It is really hard, especially when you're young and you have all these goals in mind of getting jacked and looking a certain way. I remember somebody was like, you need to take a week off. I didn't know what to do with myself. But he was right, because I was burnt out. My workouts weren't really where they were supposed to be. Things were hurting in weird places. I was feeling kind of tired and not into it, going through the motions. So I took a week off. And the first few days was like, whatever. But by day like 4 and 5, it was like, I gotta find stuff to do. I'm gonna go to the mall. I'm gonna go do this. And by day 6-ish, I remember being like, man, I can't wait to go back to the gym. And when you go back to the gym, you go back with a fire lit under your ass. Now, there's one thing I always tell people. If you take an extended amount of time off, which is basically like more than 48 hours. You know, so if you take 3 full days off, if you take a full week off, when you come back into the gym, utilize 80%, 75 to 80% of your normal max weights for exercises. Just because you're like, oh, well, I do 315 for 10 on the squat. First week back, don't do it. Don't do it. Just do perfect form, 75, 80%, because what happens is, just from taking that week off, you're gonna be sore as hell. And if you come back too hard, it takes longer to get back into it. But if you come back that first week, just have perfect 75, 80% workouts, which you can do every day, no problem. After a week off. That second week, man, that's when you start really having crazy workouts. I appreciate you saying that, Dionic. I'm excited to try it. I have this single-digit body fat in sight, and I'm hoping that this is the ticket to get me there without having to do anything too dramatic as far as calorie cutting goes. Let's see, Resk Ivy says, I'm on a fat cut, so it should take 1 gram of protein per pound, including your body fat, or 1 gram. Essentially, guys, when you look at all the meta-analysis, right, a lot of them are done out of the country, so they're done in, you know, grams to kilograms ratios. It typically works out to be about 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So what that means is, let's say you're 300 pounds, but when you calculate what your lean body mass is, you're very overweight, you got 100 pounds of fat to lose. So you're not eating 300 grams of protein, you're eating 200, you're calculating lean body mass. Now, if you're trying to really grow, then I think it's fine to be in a surplus like that to make sure there's adequate no matter what. Big Sexy says, 2 years ago I was 325 pounds, went to the doctor yesterday, I'm 230. Holy shit. Woo! That is amazing. You lost a whole person, Big Sexy. Tell us your fasting schedule what times you fast from. So I'm a big advocate of fasting. So guys, before I went to prison, I became really aggressive with my support of intermittent fasting. I used to talk about it all the time. People thought I was crazy. I actually only ate most days. I did an extreme version of it where I would typically eat at 6 p.m. and I would eat until 10 to 11 p.m. So I'd only eat for 4 to 5 hours. And I would eat, pretty good sized meals in that time frame. Boy, you guys remember, man, I was super lean. And I was like that for a while. I was like that for a couple of years. I was lean. You guys saw I used to take my shirt off all the time. I was always doing videos, doing crazy stuff, great shape, felt great. And to be honest with you, I really enjoy not having to eat all day. So when I got out of prison, I decided I was just gonna eat like a normal bodybuilder. So I got out of prison, I was 263 pounds. And I started eating like a normal bodybuilder, and I was training in my spare bedroom because I was on house arrest with resistance bands and a couple light dumbbells. And about a month went by, and I was 55 pounds, right? So I had lost only like 8 pounds, which really, honestly, guys, is pretty good, all things considered. That's about 2 pounds a week. But I was like, man, I thought I would have lost a lot faster. So what I decided to do was I switched into a ketogenic diet. Switched to keto, and the weight just started flying off because I realized I had started to become a little insulin resistant with all the carbs that I ate in prison. And my A1C was 5.7. It's never been that close to that range before. My doctor was like, man, your triglycerides are through the roof. Your A1C is high. You got to make some changes. So, we both agreed that ketogenic would be the way to go for me. So as soon as I did that, guys, man, I peeled that weight off pretty fast. Got down into the 230s again. And I decided at that point that I was ready to start I fixed all my blood work. My blood was looking good. I decided I was going to go back into my intermittent fasting again. So now, for a few months now, more than that, probably a good 6 months maybe, I've been on basically, guys, I start eating at 2 p.m. and I eat until 10 p.m. That's my window. I have an 8-hour window, which is pretty standard. It's a pretty basic intermittent fast. So Big Sexy, we're talking about his fasting now. I used to be a type 1 diabetic. When I was a type 2 diabetic, I was in the hospital for 8 days. When she was 18, my blood sugar was 800. Wow, dangerous, very dangerous. Permanent P, what's going on? You gotta watch out for those chemtrails, Nathan. Noah, am I a low carb diet guy? I'm a whatever diet works best for you guy. I don't believe that there's one end all be all. If there was one diet that I think that the majority of people could be very healthy on, as far as sustainable living, it would be the Mediterranean style diet, the Mediterranean diet, which is lean meats, green veggies, vegetable sources of fats, fish. But myself personally, I like to intermittent fast. I have a little bit more freedom with what I eat, but I'm typically not a high carb guy, no. Good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning. Tater tot. No, I'm talking about my old days in Connecticut. It's hard for me to take any days off these days. I take off from Wednesdays and Sundays from the gym. Oh, but on Summer 5, I'm glad that you like that workout. I'm glad it helped you. We did a really good chest workout yesterday. Zionic, yeah, I figure I'd be real conservative to start. I always like to start conservative with stuff because I have a tendency to be very sensitive to new supplements. Recovery dog up in Daytona Beach. Well, you want to take a drive down? We could set something up for a weekend. Recovery dog. Nick Ox says you think that me and Marissa are going to be great parents. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. What are my thoughts on Salim and Gomez? I mean, I just think it's so bizarre to turn the camera on yourself and cry and post it on the internet is so weird. It's so weird. Has anybody in here ever been hysterically crying? I'm curious, guys. I just want to understand. And thought I better put the camera on myself and then go post it on Instagram so everybody could see me cry. That is so strange to me. Any near-death experiences, Uncle PJ? Yes. Nickok1234. I've actually talked about this a bunch of times over the years. 2018. I had a really bad alcohol problem for a little while, and I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't trying to kill myself, that's for sure. I went on a crazy bender, and I had a very, very high tolerance because I was drinking so often. So I went on a crazy bender, and I drank probably close to 2 liters of vodka one night. And I ended up in the emergency room. My blood alcohol level was 0.429. So the doctors told my mom, you stay with him, pray for him, but usually people don't come out of that. And 6 days later, I got sent home. I had a lot of shit going on for 6 days in the hospital. I made it through. They had to put me on medication to bring my blood pressure down because my blood pressure was so crazy high. My heart rate was like close to 200 beats per minute. They had to give me stuff to bring that down. I was severely dehydrated. They did more tests that showed that my potassium levels were so low that when your potassium levels dip under 3, it's your heart could fail. So they had to get me on a potassium solution. And, by the grace of God, thank God, thank you, Jesus, I got out of there. And, that's why that's why I'm not a drinker these days. That scared me straight. You get in a situation like that, guys, and you realize how lucky you are to be alive, that'll change your perspective, that's for sure. Good to know, Zionic. Good to know. Zionic, I've had to eat with the sloop. I've had to eat quite a bit more carbohydrates for me to continue to do my fast and things the way that I want to. Just because I was getting dizzy and lightheaded before I would break my fast. It had happened a couple times where I was feeling great, killed my workout, came home, did this, and maybe around like noonish, start feeling really out of it. A couple of days where I had eaten light before, and sure enough, started eating, felt better. I realized that in order for me to keep training the way I do and whatnot, I had to keep the carbs a little higher, which is good. It's incredible that it has that profound of an effect. Big Sexy says, I eat about 6 to 7 at night. I have 1 pound of grass-fed beef and 6 whole eggs there you go. Very good. Good, Big Sexy. Keep it up. Keep that fasting going, man. Still dark in SoCal. Oh, my Lord. Good morning, David. How you doing? Guys, I know I'm on here late. I told everybody in the very beginning I'm limited for time today. I got a bunch of shit I got to get handled. One of the things on my list, I have to get a poop sample from my dog. Hopefully it's not diarrhea anymore. So they gave her some medicine. So she didn't poop yet today. I'm going to go take her after this. Badabuka says, Peter, my gym plays freestyle. Oh, man, we're getting back to that again, huh? I'm proud of you, Big Sexy. Keep it up. Keep it up. You know what? Been at Summer 5. I have no idea. He was texting me yesterday. He wants to take me out for my birthday. I told him I can't. Very kind of him. Hiya, hiya. What's your squat PR? My best ever squat in competition, I did 550 at 19 years old at 198 pounds. I was a very good squatter when I was young. I started out as a power lifter before I got into my competitive bodybuilding, and that was one of my better lifts. Once I got into training, I've gone heavy per se, but I typically would work out with 5 plates, which is 495. And the most I've ever done 495 for is 8 reps. I've thrown a quarter on top of that and gotten a hard set of 5 or so. But the way that I used to squat is I would typically do 135, 225, 315, 405, 455, and then work up to that top set. So it was a lot of volume in reps. Once I got into my bodybuilding career, I didn't see any point of doing 1 rep squat maxes anymore. So when people would ask me my maxes on things, the numbers aren't what I would consider impressive compared to what a lot of guys do. I never tried more than 455 on the flat bench. I did it for 1 rep. It felt pretty heavy. And you know what? I was like, that's good for me. I'll stick to doing my sets with 405, 315. I liked the way that I could feel doing 315, 15 times on the flat bench, pumping that blood in there, versus trying to go 5 plates, 6 plates. The guys that can do that, man, they're just beasts. They're just beasts. Big Sexy says, one night I ate a whole pie and then I had another 2 slices from another pie. So I had 10 slices of pizza, but that was thin crust, but still. Yeah, man, I'm really happy to see that you have found the success with the intermittent fasting, Big Sexy. I think that it's a tremendous way to be. Mancini, good morning. Of course she's crying for attention. It's so strange. Recovery dog, yeah, if you want to come down, Saturdays would be better than Sundays. Sunday is a family day, but we could definitely do it. That's crazy. Sorry to hear that. Oh, thanks, Mancini. Do I cross over? What do you mean crossover? Yes, I saw that League Priest renewed his pro card too. I mean, listen, I don't know what's going on, what his position is. I think he did it more as like a challenge to the IFBB by saying, well, if you don't have a pro card, then you're not, allowed to compete or be a pro anymore. You've got to keep it. I don't know. That's strange to me that they're doing that. I guess it's a money grab, but listen, hey man, if Lee Priest came back, that'd be the most exciting thing to happen in bodybuilding in a while. I'd love to see that. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, if you ask me. How to grow chest muscles. Focus on your incline exercises. I love the incline exercises to stimulate the chest the best way. Incline dumbbell presses, incline dumbbell flies, incline barbell presses, hammer strength incline. John Moria, good morning, good morning. Stacks Rider. Tips on losing love handles. Does bread have to be cut out? Say just 1 sandwich a day. So, the one thing that I wish that we could do with diet and training alone is spot reduced fat. I have been getting asked that for years. Quick answer, John Moria, yes, the Trojan horse, or as it's now called, FST2, would absolutely benefit you there. So here's the thing. Unfortunately, everybody has their own different trouble spots. There are some people, I've worked with people over the years that truly have no trouble spots. Their body fat is distributed completely evenly and it comes off completely evenly. Personally, I always held more fat on the back side of my body than the front, even in my my upper back. It never leaned out as fast as my front. I could walk around with six-pack abs, but I'd have, more fat in the back. So now, as I've gotten older, I've noticed it's really kind of switched more to my love handle / like glutes area. And I've worked with guys that their glutes had no fat, but they had a belly, so they'd say, well, how many sit-ups could I do to get rid of this? It just doesn't work like that. It simply comes down to burning the calories, getting the body fat down. As your body fat comes down, right, then you'll start to lose from these trouble spots. Now, as far as removing anything from your diet, right, it truly comes down, no matter what, into calories in versus calories out. So people respond differently psychologically, the way they feel, to different diets. I know people that do amazing on ketogenic diets. Those people typically do great on carnivore also. And then I know people that do amazing on carb cycles. They don't really like to eat much fats. I know people that have had their gallbladders removed so they can't eat fats, So there are different systems that you can put into play. When I was coaching, I never forced any system on anyone. So when you look at intermittent fasting, for instance, if you commit to that window of eating, you can try to overeat in that window, but most of the time, you're not going to be able to consume those calories that you would by eating throughout the day. So if you're somebody that wants to have bread, you could put it in your intermittent fasting window as long as you commit to that, and you'll see as the weight comes down, you'll have improvements in those areas. Good morning, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Recovery Dog, get on IG, baby. Get on IG. Show me something, Mickey. I want to see it. Make sure it's not hard, though. Mancini says, just train and stay healthy, baby. There you go. Let's see here. My birthday is Saturday. When am I taking my first Redidos? Hey, Zionic, my birthday is next week. Fellow Aquarius. I might wait till Monday. It just got here. I like to start fresh on a Monday. What do I think of Jay Cutler in his prime? One of the best of all time, Mr. Olympia, monster. The only guy that was able to challenge Ronnie like that. Listen, the keto bread is mind-blowing to me. You guys, let me tell you, back when I was young, when I first started competing, right, 2002, I did a very traditional, old-school bodybuilder-style diet, very, very plain, very bland. I ate like 6 things. Chicken breasts, white fish, oats, broccoli, and some eggs, basically, right? Now, when I started working for a couple years, happy birthday, Dom, happy birthday, baby. That's awesome, mine is the 6th. You're welcome, Stack. So, when I started working with Dave Palumbo, which was 2007, I started working with Dave Palumbo, and Dave Palumbo, the Palumbo diet is a ketogenic diet. So the kind of person I am, if I'm committing to something, if I'm working with a coach, I'm going to do 100% every single thing they say to a T. I kept a journal of everything I did over the years. So, Zionic, I'm already on the L-carnitine, so not worried about that. I'll tell you guys, not to get off tangent for a second, but as far as talking about the sloop, the SLU PP3D2, most impressive thing I've used in a long time, using 500 micrograms a day. I started it on January 2nd, so it was my New Year's little treat to myself. And my body fat on January 2nd was 13.4%. So that was my starting point. Guys, on January 22nd, so literally only 3 weeks in, my body fat hit 10.5. It consistently came down. Now, I hit a plateau, and it's actually, for whatever reason, crept up a little bit. But I've also increased my calories with it. So it is a very impressive, very, very impressive one. As far as things I've done. I tried the 5-amino already. I wasn't as impressed with it. I'll try it again once I'm into the single-digit body fat. But anyway, the keto bread. Back to the keto bread. People thought that keto was blasphemy back then. If you said that you were on keto, people were like, you're crazy. That's terrible. That's awful. Which ketogenic diets were actually developed by exercise scientists, doctors, for epilepsy specifically. Then we found out that it's actually a great diet for being healthy, losing body fat, right? Because we're manipulating blood sugar releases. So when Dave got me on this diet, it was so freaking weird. But I did everything he said. I followed it for 2 years. And honestly, as far as fat burning went, I lost fat easy. My issue was that as a bigger guy, when I would reintroduce carbs to fill out for my shows, I had a very, very hard time filling out the right way, which is why I switched off to kind of my own modified carb cycle after that, which worked best for me. But for just straight losing fat, now all these years later, I can't believe how many options that you guys have if you want to follow a ketogenic meal plan. You got keto bread, you got keto wraps, you even have keto pasta that's made with all fiber. It's truly amazing how much in 20 years that has progressed. There was nothing like that back when I was doing it, nothing at all. So it's cool to see how things that were considered bad and dangerous have now grown to what they are now. And it actually tastes pretty good. I've tried it out of curiosity. I picked up some keto bread. I said, I'm gonna make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I haven't had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a while, and it was surprisingly delicious, the bread. I was impressed. Let's see, Arpan said, just had a shoulder cuff tear. Sorry to hear that. I've been through it on both sides. What would I recommend? So if you're asking for quick recommendations on recovery supplements, I certainly would suggest the BPC 157 and TB 500. I would definitely. Now, you know, the most important thing, any injuries that I've had, I always committed to my physical therapy. Take that shit seriously. Any injuries that I've had, if they said we want you going to physical therapy 3 times a week, I committed to it. I did all the exercises I was supposed to do at home. And don't rush it back, because you can often get things injured more when you do that. Do not do exercises that bother it. That was my one big mistake, is I kept doing the same exercises that would bother it and make it worse. Keith, I agree. The days of chasing Ronnie, those were my favorite Olympias, personally. There's been some great Olympias over the years, but, you know, as good as Ronnie was, I was like, man, I wanted to see if Jay could get him, because I just never thought anybody would be able to beat him. Badabuco, you know that music brings the Guidos out. Freestyle music brings the Guidos out. Big Sexy, what is ashwagandha? So ashwagandha is a herb. It's used originally was used in Southeast Asian medicine that I'm speaking in like the terms that I've learned to speak in because of all my FDA crimes. It may control cortisol. It may blunt cortisol. It may have a calming effect. It may relax you if you have anxiety issues. It has a calming aspect to it. In my own experimentations, I have found that you need a decent amount of it, at least back when I was experimenting. When I say decent amount, 1,500 milligrams, even 2 grams. But if you are an anxious person, if you have a hard time winding down, it can absolutely have that calming effect on you. And it is also said to have effects positively on reducing cortisol. But RPEN, the physical therapy, man, I'm telling you, a lot of people don't take that shit seriously, and what happens is you lose mobility and you lose stability. Those are two very different things that come into play with the rotator cuffs. Mobility is your range of motion, right? So when we think of internal rotation, external rotation, and we think of adduction, abduction. So your range of motion and abduction, your range of motion and internal and external rotation. I have no internal rotation. I can't even go past 90 degrees, which most people aren't that flexible there. But the less mobility you have, the easier it is to get tight and get stiff. Now, stability is completely different. The way that they have you work on stability, for instance, they'll have you do things like, they had me do these scapula motions with a kettlebell where I had to hold it up. I was surprisingly weak like that. I lacked stability. So you want to focus on all that stuff and get that cuff all locked up tight again. Guys, I'm gonna stay on for like 2 more minutes and then I gotta go get about my business. I appreciate you guys jumping on here. I really do. I got a very, very, very busy day today. What exactly is keto bread? Is it different than Dave's bread? Much different than Dave's bread. So Dave's bread is made of multiple grains. Keto bread is essentially made mostly of fiber. They're using like a corn source of fiber, I believe. So the benefit to that is your body isn't releasing insulin as it breaks it down. And for instance, when we look at an aspect of blood sugar control, type 2 diabetes surges, things like that, the more fiber we consume, the better it is to control the insulin level. It doesn't have any effect on insulin. So personally, I'd much rather be eating a fiber source and sacrifice a little bit of taste versus having all of the grains, which are going to require more insulin output. Mancini, I'm very impressed with Andrew Jacks. He's a beast. Vince Mars says Lord Genova is still the greatest bodybuilder to ever break the stage. He definitely has the best calves. Definitely has the best calves. You guys are cracking me up with the freestyle music. Listen, I like freestyle. I'm not saying I don't. I got to be in the right place for it. If I'm in the club, I am a true metalhead when it comes to what I want in the gym. I'm sure if you guys have been following me over the years, you've probably noticed like around the house, we always have that 90s R&B. I love the 90s R&B, or it always puts me in a good mood. So, different music has a different place for me at different times of what I have going on. Mancini says it's too old school. Mancini, I know you're out there dancing when you hear it. Tool is my favorite band, yes. I would say my number one favorite is Tool. I love Slipknot. Slipknot's probably my number two. Love Slipknot. But yeah, love Tool. But I've gone through different phases over the years, guys. When I was growing up, if you asked me who my favorite was, I would have told you Wu-Tang Clan forever. Every single time you asked me. It wasn't until I was later in my teens, like junior, senior high school, it really became more Metallica. I loved Metallica when I was in high school. And it really was Metallica that got me to expand into the rest of the metal. Then I found Pantera, and I was like, oh, I love Pantera so much. But when Slipknot's first album came out, I remember 1999, I had that first cassette tape. And my friends were like, what is this devil music? And I don't know, man, it just hit me in a way where I was like, this music speaks to me in a way that nothing else had. So I got really, really into it. But I've loved Tool, since the 90s. So although I had different phases with different kinds of music, Tool's been a solid part of my life since the 90s. But I gotta get moving, guys. I gotta go collect my dog's poop today. I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you guys for doing this with me. Brandon Rogers, 90s R&B, baby. A little Keith Sweat, a little Jodeci. Come on now. All right, I gotta get moving. I appreciate you guys. This time went by fast because you guys entertained me so much, and I appreciate that. God bless all of you. I love you guys. Peace out.